For 30 years, Ray drove the same bus down the same gray street, and he was sure he'd be doing it until the day he died. Men like him didn't retire early. They drove until their knees gave out, then got by on almost nothing. That was the deal. Except one ordinary Tuesday at 58, Ray parked the bus for the last time and handed back the keys, not because he was worn out, but because he no longer needed the paycheck. Something else had quietly taken over the job of earning for him. He'd put in $144,000, $400 at a time. It had become nearly $900,000. And somewhere in the middle of it all, without him noticing, his money began earning more than he did. This is how a bus driver retired years before anyone thought a man like him ever could. On one boring fund, and a habit he almost quit twice. Ray was 30 when he started, and he already felt behind. He wasn't clever with money, and he didn't earn much. A driver's wage, enough to cover the bills, and not a dollar more. He could see the whole road ahead, 30 more years of early alarms in the same street, and at the end of it, a small pension and a smaller life. It was just the shape of things for a man like him. The only reason it changed was an old mechanic named Walt, who'd fixed those buses for 40 years. Ray realized Walt didn't actually need the job. He'd quietly retired years ago and only came in because he liked the garage. Ray asked him how a mechanic retires early. Walt wiped his hands and said the truest thing anyone ever told him. Every dollar you earn you can spend once, and then it's gone forever. Or you can send it off to work. Put it somewhere boring, and it earns for you quietly, day and night, and never asks for a raise. Do that long enough, kid, and one day your money brings home a bigger paycheck than you do. That's the day you get to stop. So Ray did the simplest thing a person can do. Every month, before anything else, he sent $400 off to work. $100 a week, the price of a few restaurant meals he could skip. He put it in one plain fund that owned a slice of 500 of America's biggest companies. He didn't pick a single stock. He just hired the whole market to work the night shift for him, and mostly forgot about it. That's the part that's hard to believe until you've lived it. Money you send off to work doesn't clock out. It earns while you sleep, while you drive, while you sit in traffic in the rain. It never calls in sick, and it never quits. And every dollar it earns can be sent off to work too. So slowly you're not hiring one worker, you're hiring a whole crew, and the crew hires more. Ray didn't feel any of that at first. For a long time it felt like nothing was happening, because he'd started at the worst possible time. A few years in, the whole thing fell apart. The market dropped, then dropped again, then a third year worse than the first two. 8 years in, Ray had handed over nearly $40,000 of hard-earned money, and it was worth barely more than he'd put in. 8 years of skipping things he wanted for almost nothing. He almost stopped. Of course he did. What kind of fool keeps feeding a thing that just sits there? But every time his thumb hovered over that decision, he heard Walt in the garage. A tree you plant doesn't pay you back the first year, or the fifth. It's building roots you can't see. So Ray kept going, $400 a month, hopeful or not. And then, the worst year of all arrived. The market fell off a cliff. Nearly a third of everything he'd built gone in 12 months. More than 8 years of his deposits wiped out on paper while he counted change at the depot. He didn't sell. He did the hardest thing there is. He kept buying while everyone else ran. $400 straight into the fear. Here's the boring truth. The scary years weren't what could ruin Ray. Quitting during them was. Every crash was just his money going on sale, and he was the only one at the register still buying. The people who got rich slow and the people who stayed broke were often in the exact same fund. The only difference was who kept going. And then, quietly, the thing Walt promised actually happened. By his late 40s, Ray's pile had finally gotten big, and a small gain on a big pile is real money. One year he read the statement twice. His fund had earned more that year than he had, more than a full year of driving that bus, earned by his money while he slept. Let that land. The crew he'd been quietly hiring for 19 years now brought home a bigger paycheck than the man himself. And it kept going. Once your money out-earns you, the math tips over and runs downhill. 100,000 became 2, then 4, then 6. The same 400 a month, the same ordinary man. He wasn't working harder. His workers were just finally strong enough to carry him. That's the third boring rule, the one that turns a wage into a way out. Every dollar you spend is gone once. Every dollar you invest goes to work for you, a worker who never sleeps and never asks for a raise. Hire enough of them for long enough, and one day they out-earn you. That's the day you're free. But the number was never really the point. By his late 50s, Ray's boring fund had grown to nearly $900,000, built from $144,000 of his own, 400 at a time, enough that living gently off it would cover everything his wage used to. He had reached the quiet number where working became a choice. So one gray Tuesday, he chose. He parked the bus, handed back the keys, and drove home in the middle of a workday for the first time in his life. The reward wasn't a boat or a big house. He didn't want either. It was Tuesday morning. It was not setting an alarm. It was time, handed back to him while he was still young enough to spend it. People had told him his whole life that men like him work until they can't. Ray rewrote that with $400 a month and the stubbornness not to quit when it hurt. And the quiet joke at the end, he doesn't touch the pile. It still earns. Those 500 companies still send him more each year than he ever made driving. Money he never has to earn twice. These days, Ray is the one at the depot, telling some tired young driver the thing that saved him. Don't wait to be rich, kid. You just need one number, enough that your money can cover your life without you. Send a little off to work every month. Don't you dare stop when it drops, and let the years do the heavy lifting. You'll get there sooner than they told you. That's the whole thing. Not a hot stock, not a windfall. Just money sent off to work, every month, protected through every storm, and left alone long enough to out-earn you. You don't need a big salary to do what Ray did. You just need to decide what your number is, and hire your first workers this month. You don't retire early by earning more. You retire early the day your money earns more than you do. You can't go back and start at 30. But you can send your first 400 or 40 off to work tonight. Run your own boring wealth projection for free at stayboringinvesting.com. Put in what you can set aside and find the year your money could start earning more than you do. What's the number that would let you stop? Say it below. Stay boring. Stay invested. I'll see you in the next one. Quick note: education and entertainment only, not financial advice. An S&P 500 index fund is named as a real-world example, not a recommendation. Ray is an illustration, and the figures come from a real historical backtest from 1995 to 2024. That may not repeat. The your number idea uses the common 25 times or 4% rule as an illustration, not a guarantee. All investing carries risk. Do your own research.